Hi all, Bones here from BSA Bantams and welcome back to the workshop. Few jobs on the go at the moment, some of them not Bantam related, but I'll show you what we're actually up to. From the last episode, the engine rebuild that we're doing, we've sent the cases away to be vapor blasted, barrels getting vapor blasted, we've done the repairs to the engine that we need to do. We're just waiting to get cases back, and I'll show you a couple of little things that we've done as well. I'll just bring you in a bit closer to show you what I'm up to now. Alright, these are the flywheels off my Harley Davidson 1200 Sportster, and what we've got to do is a full rebuild, and this is the reason why. The kingpin lost the hard facing on it, so we're up for a whole new rod kit, full engine rebuild. But before I can press the flywheels back up, I've got to fit these bronze thrust washers in. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use some 600 grade Loctite as well as stake it in like it already is. I'm just about to make up a little plate with a bolt through it, so when I pull it up, it pulls it up nice and square, holds it in place while we're staking it as well, so it doesn't pop out when you start to stake it. So we'll get stuck into that. So other jobs we've done to progress the Bantam engine, customer wanted primary drive cover polished up, so we've done all that. We've got that done. Air strangler, just blasted and got all the rust out of that and just given that a paint. And what we're also got here is all the screws and dipstick, all that sort of stuff, and what we're going to do is we're going to zinc plate all that. So I'll be getting onto, as I think I said earlier on, but I've got about 3 different bikes that I want to do zinc plating on, so I'll be bringing another Bantam that we're going to pull down and get all going, and stuff for the Harley and this stuff. So while my plating kit's all set up, we'll get everything done. So what we have there is the plate I've hacked out. I've got it in the lathe, and I'm going to turn, that's 6mm plate, and I'll just turn it to the required diameter just to clamp these thrust washers in while they're being staked and while I'm putting some Loctite on it. So when you're doing something like this with all these shoulders on here, if you go ploughing into it, all that happens is the plate spins on the bolt. So you've got to be a little bit delicate getting all the intermittent cutting out of it until you get it into a full diameter. So it just takes a little while to whittle away, but it's all right. Okay, so we're just measuring up our bronze washer now, and that's not right. So 0, 53.25, 55.1. So I've got a couple of mil to come off that yet. 1.8 or whatever it is. So we've got it full circle, and I will machine it off and obviously chamfer it, and we should be right. So that's our plate made up. It's all chamfered up. I'll obviously clean all the scale off it before I go to use it on the job, so no scale breaks off and drops into anything. So now I've got to make a little bracket piece that goes across the back to clamp it all up. Alright, so there's our little jig to hold the bronze bushing up here while we Loctite it. And there's the damage on the kingpin that's necessitated all this. I mean, it couldn't have been something simple, no. Something that requires a total engine rebuild. So we'll give this a go. We'll get this set up and get the first one in. All right, so that's the end result. We've got our thrust washer all clamped up. And we'll just leave that there for a few hours until I go back in, and I'll restake this in as well. Obviously they were originally staked in, but on this side the thrust wash actually came loose and flogged out in there a bit too, so I'm trying to get right away from that happening again, hence why the Loctite. You can see I lineaged off all the scale off the plate, but anyway, it's working good. Alright, so what we're going on with now is this little D3 Plunger Bantam. So I purchased 3 bikes late last year, and this is one of them. We believe the bike was done up around 35 years ago, and unfortunately it's just sat since then. So we're going to go through it, right through everything. I'll take it for a walk around in a second. You can have a look at the condition that it's in, but generally the guy who did it was apparently a panel beater, so the paintwork and everything is pretty good. However, I think if you've watched any of my previous videos when we had the D7 Pastoral in, that was part of this batch run of motorbikes. So there were a few issues with the engine in that. So we'll wait and see how we go. But I'll take up the stand and we'll walk around, we'll have a closer look at this bike. So starting at the front, we've got an original Y-Pack headlight lens in there. And we've also got the hard to get large switch. Bike has a speedo, and you can tell by the cover here it doesn't have the hole in it, so this is a battery model bike, and the engine number also confirms that too. Handlebars, get rid of those adjusters and get the collets in there. Bantams don't have handlebar adjusters on it. Go down the front wheel and we'll have a look. As you can see, some of the chrome works, like on the rims and things like that. Sorry, on the spokes is a bit iffy, but we won't be changing that. Things like the dust cap in here, we'll be pulling that out, and this is the reason we're pulling it apart, so we can zinc plate things like this, zinc plate things like that. So we'll get that done. Engine, it looks pretty good. It does have compression and it does kick over. It's got the correct carby for a D3 on it. Air strength looking a bit ordinary, but we can get that all sorted out. Down to the engine, clutch adjuster, something going on there, but it's hanging out that far. Missing some spaces and things off the footrest bar. Down the back, things like your distance piece in here and your plunger column, we'll pull those out, clean them up, zinc plate them, make them all look nice. Same as the chain adjusters. The chrome on the rear wheels, unfortunately, it's not too bad except for one section. But as I said, we won't be changing the rims out. I think last time I looked at Central Wheel Components website's about $1,000 to get a set of rims and a set of spokes in, so we're trying to keep costs down on this a bit because this bike will be sold. But as you can see, the paintwork's pretty good. Go around to the back, looks like a reproduction number plate holder. That's all right. We'll get a little Y-Pack tail light in that. Chrome work on the kickstart pedal and the gear change lever are pretty ordinary, so we'll replace those. Engine cases look a bit scabby, but we'll actually polish up, primer cover and get this all nice and clean. We may send it away to be vapor blasted. We haven't made a decision on that yet. Well, that's not good. So if you can see that, that's a coarse thread. Their BSF going into there, so we may have damaged threaded holes in there. That's a bit of a bummer. It doesn't matter, we're pulling all the forks and head stem and everything out just to make sure everything's absolutely spot on. But it should come up all right. Over here, we have the tank. So a couple of little chips out of the tank. So I haven't even look in here. Just got a torch. Oh, that looks really good in there. I'm going to try and get you in to have a look. Yeah, it's not really working, but anyway, that tank looks really good. Well, that's a win. But as you can see, it's just a bit dusty, but you can see underneath where it. So yeah, I think this bike will come up pretty good. So now what we've got to do is start pulling it all apart, cleaning it up. We'll polish all the painted surfaces, get our zinc plating done, get it all back together, rewired, engine rebuild, full overhaul, and then we'll flog it off. So the very first thing I've touched, starting to get the clutch cable off and get all the umbilicals off the engine so we can take the engine out. And what someone's done, the little claw where your clutch cable fits up into it, they've decided that they didn't want it to pop out, so they've crushed it. They've crushed the claw over. So I'm gonna have to get up there with the screwdriver, try and open it up, and try and get the cable out. It's the bloody first thing I've touched. I hope it's not like this for the rest of the bike. Trust me. So I just had a couple of goes at trying to open up that claw. I just can't get it from underneath. So I've just left the clutch cable in place, and when we can get the engine up on the bench and on its side, we'll have to get a screwdriver in to open up that claw and get the cable out. But we'll just keep progressing. Chain off, chain guard, toolbox off, kickstarter, gear change lever. We'll keep going. So the very next thing I've got to take off the chain guard. I don't know if you can see that, but that looks awfully a lot like a metric bolt that's been hacked off with a hacksaw. And hopefully I'll be able to chase that thread. I don't know why. BSW stuff's available, but anyway, keep going. Cool. This has been in for a while. No, need to go up a fraction higher. Just one a bit more. Rightio, so things like your chain adjusters and your nuts here, we'll blast those off, and we'll zinc plate those. So obviously got the speedo drive bearings, don't feel too bad, but if they're open bearings, I'll be changing them out to sealed bearings. This is where you can scratch up the mudguard really easily. And this is kind of the reason why I take the back wheel out. Try not to fit it with it in. Reproduction guard, that one. A little bit of rust on the edge, but generally it's pretty good. Straight. So we've got everything disconnected except the clutch cable, which is still in. So time to lift the engine out. If you wanted to know why I dropped the back wheel out pretty early on, it's just a lot easier to get the chain guard out and around without scratching up any of this new paint without the back wheel in, and it's coming out anyway. No. We've got some corrosion here. It's stuck. Oh, what's happened. So your bottom engine mount bolts are supposed to be 1/4 inch. And I'm just feeling the burr there. Someone's drilled them out to 5/16. And I think they've done it while it's been on the bike, and I think the burr's pushed through into the engine mount. So we'll just keep going. Here we go. Oh, I didn't get that out of the headlight shroud. Just pulling the rubber grommet out of the headlight over the top of the fell. There we go. Now we should be able to get it. So something I should have probably checked, but usually clutch cables aren't on when I take engines out. So right there you can see the claw fillet where the clutch cable sits. You can see they've got up there and they've bent those around the clutch cable, so we'll have to open them up. A lot easier doing it on the bench than trying to grovel around underneath the bike to get it done. Alright, so we've just got the points cover off, and that's what we're looking at inside, which looks pretty good to me. I've got a sneak suspicion that's a Victor lawnmower coil, but it doesn't really matter, they work alright. You can obviously see over here between whoever put it together likes gasket sealer. But anyway, I think we'll retain that on this bike. I think all that stuff looks pretty good and it'll work. Well, I have never ever seen that on a Bantam before. Let's turn the light on and see if it sheds any more light. Someone's made up some sort of adapter, I think, and my suspicions are that the end of the original crank's either been cut off or broken off. So the points cam was running on this surface here, and I'm just looking around, there's no keyway in that, and they've made up this surface here. This surface here runs on the bush in your stator, and it's just got like a set of flats, if you can see that. Like, this is weird. This is going to be interesting. A, I've got to get it off first, and B, see why on earth they did it. Oh dear, that was screwed onto there like that. So the crank at some stage has broken and someone's hacked it off. So I can't even fit a CDI iron to that, or can I? No, it doesn't have the spigot for the support into the bearing of the stator plate. That's a bit different, isn't it? Well, actually I could put a CDI on it, because I mean the weight of my rotors on the CDIs compared to these is, I think those are about 2¼ kilograms, and the CDI rotors are only about 700 grams. So obviously we'll put the crank up and when we get it apart and just test it. But that's a bit different, isn't it? So the next issue is I've got to get the flywheel off. So I'm going to have to modify flywheel puller. I'll make an insert to go. I'll have to make an insert to go inside that'll jack up against that surface there once this is screwed on, because that's screwed, as you can see, nearly all the way down. It doesn't even go close to reaching the surface there. So, you know, oh, you gotta love old bikes, eh? All the challenges. So we've made an insert that will go in there. We'll screw that in, and then this will be able to go up on and shoulder out against that face there, and hopefully we'll get this flywheel off. Alright, so we've got our engine out, got the flywheel off, the engine's draining, and I think that's about all I'll do for this video. We've got the Harley flywheels have done. So that's another good job out of the way. Very happy. Really hope you've enjoyed this video. To all my subscribers, thanks very much for sticking with us and being so supportive and commenting. If you haven't hit like or subscribe, please do. And stay tuned, because there won't be too much longer till another video comes out on the progress on this D3 Bantam. Hope you've enjoyed it. See you later.